This week on This is America and the World, our guest is Ambassador Djerdj Matkovic. Ambassador Matkovic represents the Republic of Serbia to the United States. Prior to our interview, the ambassador presented two items that showed the long-standing and historic relationship between Serbia and the United States. During World War I, President Wilson ordered the Serbian flag to be flown over the White House and, through the Secretary of State, asked Americans to pray for the valiant people of Serbia. In World War II, ordinary citizens in Serbia rescued hundreds of American airmen whose planes had been shot down by the German army over Serbian territory. The famous event is depicted in the book and in the film The Forgotten 500. Mr. Ambassador, thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you very much for the invitation. It's a great honor to be here.
Thank you. I'll start with the basics. I often ask this question. Tell us three things that we should know about Serbia.
Serbia is a relatively small country in the Balkans, and the people, if I would use three characteristics for the people of Serbia, they are very brave, proud, and hospitable people. So these are the things which I would talk about them as in this way.
So that's one. What else should we know?
We should know about the country that it is in the Balkans region, which is a region, a very interesting and very complex region, full of history. And as once Winston Churchill famously said, Balkans produce more history than it can consume. So it's absolutely true.
It would be amazing for people to know that 17 Roman emperors came from that region of the world.
That's right. That's right.
How did that happen?
That territory actually was part of the Roman Empire, and as you said, 17 of them were born in the region which is currently Serbia, and one of the most famous is Emperor Constantine, who was born in Niš.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yes.
So we're talking about the people, brave, proud, hospitable. The history of the area. A third thing that we should know about the Balkans and Serbia in particular.
A third thing, that Serbia is on the crossroads between the east and west, the north and south, and all throughout its history it has been on the crosswinds of these regions. So in the beginning it was between the Byzantine and Ottoman Empire, Byzantine and Roman Empire, I'm sorry. Then later it was between the Ottoman Empire and the Austro-Hungarian monarchy. But we use that as our advantage, actually, to develop our multicultural and multi-ethnic society, and we have been lucky to be in that region for a long time.
Am I correct in my reading, something sticking in the back of my mind, that Serbia itself is home to many, many ethnic groups, huh?
Exactly, exactly. Serbia is actually only in the region of Vojvodina, where I come from, there are 26 different ethnic groups, and in Serbia as a whole, even more. So it's a variety of different nationalities, different cultures, and the people are communicative, and they have to be open-minded to live together in that kind of society. And
Absolutely.
Serbia, when you are mentioning the ethnic minorities, I think Serbia is one of the countries with the best policies towards ethnic minorities. For example, the minorities in Vojvodina, where I come from, they have their own language. They can use their own language in the schools, in the universities, in the court. They have their own TV and radio stations, own newspapers, and it's a very liberal policy towards the ethnic minorities. So they have every right to become part of the society and to become some kind of functioner in the government or anywhere in the Serbian society as they wish.
Wow, and the name of that area again?
Vojvodina. It's the northern province of Serbia, and as you know, Kosovo is the southern province. We have some disputes regarding Kosovo's independence.
Yes.
We still regard it as part of Serbia under international jurisdiction, under the government of the United Nations.
We'll talk about Kosovo a little later on in the program. I want to just look at the entire area because it's a very complex area.
It's exciting area, also a conflicted area, isn't it? I mean, when you go back in time, I guess this is the easiest way to do it. When you go back to when it all was Yugoslavia, pretty much, and then there's war, and there are wars. Looking at a map, talk about the various countries that border on Serbia and the neighborhood in the different countries.
Yes. Serbia is the second country in Europe which has the most neighbors after Germany. Germany has 9, we have 8 neighbors.
Woo.
And to our north is Hungary. We have excellent relations with Hungary. We are improving them day by day. And as I said, because of the substantial Hungarian minority in Serbia, and also there is a Serbian minority in Hungary, we are developing good relations, protecting these minorities, giving them all the possible rights. Then, a little bit towards the east, we have Romania, which is our biggest neighbor, a country which is friendly and supporting our EU integration. It's a member of the EU, as Hungary is. Further down to the south is Bulgaria. Bulgaria is taking over the presidency at the EU this 6 months, first half of 2018. And then we have Macedonia, which was part of Yugoslavia. And it's also a very vulnerable country, very much prone to some influences, but we are trying to develop excellent relations with them too, and to help them be a stable country and a prosperous country. Then we have Albania. We are considering Albania as our neighbor, as Kosovo we consider as part of Serbia. So Albania, I would say that we had some differences through the history with Albania, especially after the Second World War, and even before that. For example, after Enver Hoxha in 1946, the next Prime Minister of Albania who visited Serbia was Edi Rama in 2014, so 67 years. Almost there were no visits on high level between the two countries, but we are now improving our relations with Albania. We have excellent cooperation, and we are talking to them regarding regional issues, cooperation, economic, strengthening our economic ties. Then the next one would be Montenegro, a small country, was also part of Yugoslavia. It was the last one to declare independence in 2006 from Yugoslavia and from Serbia. We are also improving relations with them. And Bosnia-Herzegovina to the west, a very complex also country with 3 constituent nations and a very complicated system. We are developing relations with them too. And then Croatia. Croatia is also former Yugoslav Republic, but now an independent country and member of the EU.
That's quite an area and quite a rundown. Thank you very much, Ambassador. All of those countries are together, yet there are conflicts. I know that you have a border dispute with Croatia, I believe.
Yes, it's true. We have a border dispute, but we would like to solve it in an amicable way through negotiations. It's actually on the Danube, area called Šarengradska Ada, which is disputed whether it belongs to Croatia. It's quite a small area, but I think we will manage to have a solution for that problem. And also with some dispute with Bosnia-Herzegovina. It's actually not a dispute. We would like to exchange some territories with Bosnia-Herzegovina.
Oh, that's one that I didn't know about. Yes. So there's a dispute there as well.
It's not actually a dispute. Part of the Belgrade Bar railway line is going through Bosnia-Herzegovina. So we were proposing some exchange of territories, that we get that territory which the railway line is crossing only a few kilometers into the Bosnia-Herzegovina territory. To get that, and in exchange to give to Bosnia-Herzegovina some other territory in the same amount.
Where do things stand with Kosovo? Because that was a horrible situation, and that's the sticks in our minds, you know?
Yes.
Where do you stand?
Yes, I agree. Serbia was in the news for all the wrong reasons in the 1990s, but the Kosovo independence. Actually, the independence movement in Kosovo has started much earlier than the 1990s. And it was actually done through decades, systematically trying to build their independence. And in the 1990s, the things have deteriorated a lot, especially with the disintegration of Yugoslavia and the conflicts within Bosnia-Herzegovina, Croatia, and also Kosovo. And after this conflict, Kosovo decided to declare unilaterally independence from Serbia in 2008. We think that it was against the international law, against the resolution 1244 of the United Nations, and against the constitution of Serbia, because Kosovo was not a constituent republic of the former Yugoslavia. It was a province within Serbia. So as I mentioned earlier, Vojvodina was our northern province, Kosovo was our southern province. But after that independence and some misunderstandings between us, we are really trying to make relations better in a way that we are engaging in a dialogue, which is done under the auspices of the EU. This dialogue has been going on for years now, and in 2013 we managed to sign a so-called Brussels agreement, according to which there are some issues resolved, like in the field of telecommunication, energy, and then judiciary or police, and also the creation of the Serbian municipalities on the north. In northern Kosovo, there are still some Serbians living there, and we would like to create a municipal association of Serbian municipalities.
Do you think it will stay as it is, or do you think that at some point Kosovo will have full independence?
It will not stay as it is, but because this situation is not sustainable for a long time. We feel that Kosovo was taken away from Serbia, and when you are solving these problems unilaterally, it cannot be a long-term and sustainable solution. So I think we will have to talk over. This is like a fait accompli. The United States position is that Kosovo is independent within the borders as they have described it, and that's it. So we are trying to negotiate and to have this dialogue going through again in Brussels, to continue the dialogue. And my president, Mr. Vučić, has initiated within Serbia an internal dialogue about the future of Kosovo. Because
where do you think it will end up?
We will see. I don't know. I cannot predict the future, but I think we will have to find something. And Mr. Vučić said on several occasions that this is the chance of this generation of politicians to solve this issue. There are not too many issues which are outstanding like this, but this is one of the biggest, and not one of the biggest, but the biggest burden on Serbia, and we would like to solve it and to have some cooperation with our friends. So we cannot say that there is a neighboring country, but a province, a territory within Serbia. But one day we will solve it. Mr. Vučić said that the chances to solve this are very small, maybe around 5%, but until there is 1% chance, we are trying to do that, and only through negotiations and talks, and not through war. War is absolutely out of question anymore in the Balkans, because we had a very bad experience from the 1990s. We have learned our lessons, and we would not like to repeat that anymore.
Let us take a little break. We're running a little bit behind on this. We are talking with the ambassador from the Republic of Serbia to the United States. He also is ambassador to the CARICOM, the Caribbean nations, and also to Colombia. So we're learning about a very complex but very important part of the world. Sit tight. We'll be back on the other side. This is America and the World.
This is America and the World is brought to you by the Libra Group, the U.S.-China Education Trust, and F.Y. Chang Foundation, guided by Julia Chang Block, President. The League of Arab States, the Rotendaro Family Trust, Japan, History, Hospitality, and Advanced Technology, sharing tomorrow. The Forerunner Foundation, dedicated to forward-thinking public policy. And the Embassy Series, uniting people through musical diplomacy, presenting international artists in diplomatic settings.
Ambassador, I want to talk a little bit about the country. Population of Serbia, how many people there?
As I said, Serbia is a relatively small country, and I am saying relatively because it's still the biggest country in the region of Western Balkans. It's situated in the southeastern part of Europe, and the population is about 7.1 million.
Okay, and the capital city is Belgrade?
Capital city is Belgrade.
I understand it's very beautiful.
It's a beautiful city, close to 2 million people, and it's a blend of modern and ancient buildings, and the city is very vibrant, very welcoming, as I said. People like to visit Belgrade, especially from the region. It's on the confluence of two big rivers, the Sava and the Danube, and it is the upcoming city of the Western Balkans. It will be the center of entertainment and the center of business, so it will be even better than today.
How about the economy? The economy seems to be doing pretty well, huh?
Yes, since a few years ago, when the new economic reform measures were introduced, the economy is growing at a rate of about 2.5 to 3% a year. This year, actually last year, 2017, the prediction was it will be 3%, but it is slightly smaller because of the drought which we had during the summer, and before that a very harsh and long winter, similar like to the Washington weather today here.
Yeah.
And but the per capita GDP is about $5,600, which puts us in the middle developed countries, and also the overall GDP is about $40 billion.
And the culture is probably a mixture of East and West, huh?
Exactly, a mixture of East and West, and also as far as the economy is concerned, we are welcoming investors.
Yeah.
That is one of our main goals, and my main goal here in Washington, D.C. is also to try to attract investors from the United States to come to Serbia, because we have excellent conditions for investors. For example, Serbia has free trade agreements with Russia, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, Belarus, with the former Soviet republics, also with Turkey, and also with some other countries which are in the region, European Union, of course, and a general scheme of preferences with the United States, Australia, Japan, and Canada. So it's actually 1.3 billion people are in this free trade, some kind of favorable treatment of Serbia.
So what are you exporting, what are you importing?
The main export, so Serbia is more like a service-based economy. 60% of our economy is based on services, about 26% industry, and 9% construction and other activities. But
so when you say services, what does that mean?
Services mean tourism, high-tech services. For example, we have an excellent example, an American company who has invested a lot in the high-tech industry. They are very, very much satisfied with the workforce, with the proficiency of the people there, and with the quality of the work which they are doing. So I think we have excellent conditions to attract more investors, and we are trying to see that more American companies are coming to Serbia.
Some brand names are there, aren't they?
Yes, absolutely. Coca-Cola, Microsoft, Ball Packaging are the biggest. Philip Morris are the biggest investors in Serbia. NCR company, which I just mentioned, is one of the smaller investors, but it's a very important one. And also, I would like to mention that the Swedish IKEA opened last year its first store in Serbia, and it's really a good sign, because IKEA would not go in a country where there is not rule of law and all the conditions are there, so they are coming. And one of the most important things connecting with the US, tourism. I think people from the US would be amazed to come to Serbia, and there is a direct flight between New York City and Belgrade, operating since 2015. After 24 years, the first flight was established again direct flight between Serbia and the US, and it's the only country in the region which have direct flights with the US.
What airline is that?
Air Serbia.
Air Serbia?
Yes, it's flying 3 times a week during the winter schedule and 5 times a week during the summer, with the intention to increase it to 6 times a week. So
and what would be the flying time to Serbia?
About 8.5 to 9 hours.
Not bad. Not bad at all.
So you can go to New York City and to fly directly to Belgrade without changing planes somewhere in Europe.
Wow. Serbia has its a big PR problem, doesn't it? Going back to to the war in the 1990s and Milosevic. How do you even begin to explain it and tackle it and move on?
Yes, it was very difficult, but you are absolutely right. We were always on the receiving end of this PR propaganda. I can call it propaganda because, yes, there were some crimes committed by the Serbs, unfortunately. But also there were
big time, though.
Yes,
big time.
But also there were crimes committed by other nations, unfortunately. And it is the worst thing what you can do. But always the Serbs were those who were deemed guilty, and always they were the bad guys. So I don't think we are. You will see that we are a completely different nation. We are completely different people. We are very friendly, hospitable, welcoming people. So it is not true. But the propaganda war was lost, and unfortunately we maybe didn't pay that much attention on this as we should have. And also the big powers were who were against Serbia were always victimizing Serbia as the country which is the aggressor, was actually not true, and who was fueling the war. But we are really trying to overcome this, and the only way to overcome this is regional cooperation and negotiations with neighboring countries to overcome the differences. As my career as a diplomat, all my life I was trying to do, let's sit down and talk, and we can solve all our issues in an amicable way. War is the worst thing, and there is also a saying which Serbians like to repeat: it's always better to have hundreds of years of negotiation than one day of war. Something
I read suggests that the president of the country and also the defense minister kind of allies in the past with Milosevic. Is that correct?
Yes, they were at that time allies, but they have changed. The president today is a completely modern and favoring the European integration of Serbia, good relations with the United States, with all European countries. Also, we have 4 priorities in our foreign policy and 4 pillars, as we like to say. It's European Union, United States, China, and Russia. But I would add also a 5th one, which is regional cooperation and regional reconciliation. So these are our priorities. And although they were, yes, you were right, they were supporting at one point Milosevic, but it is now completely different, a different story. And I worked also in the diplomacy at that period. Diplomacy was more devoted to talks and to negotiations than to war, and I was really trying always to find a way to reach out to those countries and to solve our differences in a different way than with conflict and war.
Tough question to ask, but there was a U.S. envoy, Hoyt Yi, who said to the leadership there, you can't sit on 2 chairs that are so far apart. One facing Russia, one facing the EU.
Yes.
Where are we?
Yes, it was true. It was said in Belgrade on a forum by Mr. Yi, but as my president also answered very well, we are not sitting on 2 chairs. We are sitting on 1 chair, which is the most difficult task, and it's the Serbian chair. We would like to preserve our good relations and the cooperation with Russia. Russia is very important for us historically, and in all other ways. And we had excellent cooperation in the past, and we will continue that cooperation in the future. Trade is excellent with Russia. We are exporting lots of our manufactured goods to Russia and importing energy. 90% of our gas import is from Russia. So we are depending on that one energy source.
So that's important.
That's very important.
EU?
EU is more important. EU is our first and foremost foreign policy goal. We would like to reach the EU as soon as possible. We have opened until now 14 chapters in the negotiations with the EU of the 35. So we would like to advance more on the EU path, but still there is some kind of Euroscepticism and some kind of enlargement fatigue. So we have to fight that, but we will go through. I'm sure we will be very soon member of EU.
Mr. Ambassador, there's so much to talk about, but we are at the end of our time, I'm so sorry to say. You had brought with you a couple of fantastic exhibits that show the relationship between the United States and Serbia going back to World War I and World War II. In a word or two, how would you characterize the relationship between the United States and Serbia today?
So we have been, as you said, allies throughout the history in First World War and Second World War. Today, the relations are good, but could be better. We are working on improving them. We have excellent cooperation in the economic field. The United States is supporting Serbia's accession to the EU, but we are working on overcoming the differences regarding other issues which are still open, and it's only one, the Kosovo issue. I think we will solve it very soon.
Serbia is lucky to have you here.
Thank you.
Mr. Ambassador, thank you so much for the education.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
For information about This is America and the World, and to watch all of our programs, visit our website, thisisamerica.net, and look for us on Facebook and Twitter. You can listen to all of our ambassador interviews on our podcast, The Ambassador Series. It's available on our website and iTunes. This is America and the World is brought to you by the Libra Group, the U.S.-China Education Trust, and F.Y. Chang Foundation, guided by Julia Chang Block, President. The League of Arab States, the Rotendaro Family Trust, Japan, History, Hospitality, and Advanced Technology, sharing tomorrow. The Forerunner Foundation, dedicated to forward-thinking public policy. And the Embassy Series, uniting people through musical diplomacy, presenting international artists in diplomatic settings.